So they found classified documents in one of Joe Biden's offices. Is this anything like the classified documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago? Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So I knew it. As soon as I saw the headline that classified documents had been found in one of Joe Biden's offices, I knew that conservatives were going to be saying, oh, look, they went after Donald Trump, but now they're not going after Joe Biden. Well, there's some pretty substantial differences going on here. I mean, first of all, Joe Biden is actually the president right now, and as a result, is entitled to have classified documents, something that isn't the case with Donald Trump. Secondly, Joe Biden Joe Biden's lawyers and staff are the ones who found the documents, and they immediately turned them over to the archives. There was never any effort to keep them, to hide them, to stop the archives or the Department of Justice from getting access to them. No, that was all Donald Trump. The distinction is not one of, did they have classified documents in their possession? I mean, as it turns out, classified documents sometimes end up where they shouldn't be. It's not an uncommon problem. And generally speaking, the parties who have them cooperate. The exception to that is Donald Trump. I mean, let's just check out this video from Fox News showing how they're treating this story.
Guy Lewis with us right now, former U.S. attorney. Well, you know, I'm the guy, the back and forth on this, that everyone made a big deal of Donald Trump and having a lot of these classified documents at his personal residence. This is just as bad. I don't get into the weeds and know the legality of this stuff nearly as well as you, my friend, so I'll defer to you. Are the two relatable?
Neil, good afternoon. Yes, I think they are relatable in as much as, look, you had classified documents. They were both where they shouldn't have been. Of course, one was an ex-president. The other is an ex-vice president. But
the other, who's the ex-vice president, is also the current president. Let's just emphasize that. Let's keep watching.
I think it's a distinction without a difference. Listen,
No, the distinction is not that documents were where they shouldn't be. That happens, as I say. There's really no issue with that. And remember that the National Archives spent almost 6 months trying to get the documents from Donald Trump, and he repeatedly lied and obfuscated to keep them from getting access to them. In fact, one of his lawyers is even facing charges of perjury for signing a statement that all the documents had been turned over right before more documents were found. So the difference is that Joe Biden turned over the documents, no big deal. Donald Trump has tried to avoid turning them over, which makes you wonder, why was he so desperate to hold on to them? Let's keep watching.
Invoke a old doctrine that a judge once said, Mr. Lewis, I'm invoking the sauce doctrine. As a judge, what is that? He says, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I always remember right after Trump's search warrant, they laid out that all those classified documents, and they took.
Now remember, Trump's search warrants. The reason that the FBI had to get a search warrant was because of the fact that Donald Trump refused to turn over the documents. He continued to hide them. And the National Archives is the one who discovered that they were missing, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump never cooperated. The National Archives realized, oh my gosh, these documents that we should have are missing. And they kept contacting Donald Trump to try to get them back. Then they took it to the Department of Justice, who then repeatedly tried to get them back. It was only after all these efforts failed that then the FBI got a search warrant. Let's keep watching.
Pictures and splashed them all over the TV. I don't see the.
Ah, yes, the pictures that were splashed all over the TV. Let's just remember what was the basis for that. Donald Trump ended up insisting that there should be a special master to review all the documents to determine what documents belong to Donald Trump and what documents belong to the Department of Justice. Well, for a brief period, a ridiculous Florida judge ended up granting his request, which of course was completely overturned by a panel at the Court of Appeals. A panel, by the way, just as a reminder, which included 2 judges appointed by Donald Trump. And it was in the Department of Justice's response to Donald Trump's efforts to try to essentially gum up the works of the Department of Justice getting back these documents that they included that picture showing all the documents spread out. So had Donald Trump cooperated the way Joe Biden is, this never would have happened. So I agree, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Donald Trump should have cooperated the way Joe Biden is, and pretty much everybody else has who's been found to have classified documents. Let's keep watching.
Those pictures in the Biden episode.
So where is this going? You know, the Biden folks are trying to distinguish the fact that this, what was at, the equivalent library office and not his home. And I mean, classified is classified. I get that.
No, they're not trying to make that distinction. And he's right, classified is classified. That, whether it's classified or not is not the issue. In fact, the charges that are potentially being leveled against Donald Trump as a result of this have nothing to do with whether the documents were classified or were not classified. The issue is that Donald Trump refused to cooperate with efforts by the National Archives and the Department of Justice to get back documents that belong to the government. This is a problem that Donald Trump has. He doesn't understand that he was working in the people's house. The White House wasn't there for him, even though he was elected president. He was just there for a period, being given the ability to be there to do the people's business. But he never saw it that way. It was always about doing his own business. And that was apparent in the way that he behaved while he was in office. Let's keep watching.
And some of this is pretty deep stuff, goes to Ukraine and Russian relations, pretty sensitive documents.
We don't know what the documents were. They claim that it's this and that and the other thing. They don't know the level of classification. That has yet to be released at this point. The one thing that we do know is that there were some very serious secrets that were at Mar-a-Lago, and potentially we've heard that there still might be some missing documents. I mean, at what point do you stop fighting and just cooperate? But this guy just is unable of cooperating. Let's keep watching.
And it was important enough for archives, once they heard that they were there, to quickly swipe them back. But, you know, this has happened in varying degrees.
They didn't quickly swipe them back. The Biden people gave it to them. They returned them willingly. That's the thing. That's the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Let's keep watching.
With administrations of Hillary Clinton or former Secretary of State Burr and on and on. And how does it happen? I mean, do people just mistakenly take stuff, deliberately take stuff? There doesn't seem to be any, punishment for this. Should there be?
Seems like there's almost no rules. Look, you want to know the truth? I don't think either guy should have had the documents. If they were classified, if they were top secret, if they were compartmentalized, some of our most secure documents, neither Trump nor Biden should have had them in their private offices or private homes. But you've got to apply.
I agree with that, actually. Neither of them should have had the documents, and Hillary Clinton shouldn't have had the documents on her server either. And for that matter, Sandy Berger, the former National Security Advisor, he had certain documents, he returned them. It's no big deal. It happens. They shouldn't have them. He's right. That's why one of the elements for prosecution of this is intent. Are you trying to get them and trying to keep them away from the government? That's what's the criminal act. Not having the documents, having the documents by accident. It happens. Documents get around. People get them. They get put places. They get misplaced. If you haven't ever misplaced something in your house, imagine how it is with the government. Let's keep watching.
The rules equally, it seems to me.
I agree. The rules should be applied equally. Donald Trump should have returned all the documents willingly without fighting and dragging his feet and requiring the U.S. government to file for search warrants and to fight them in court. They should have just been turned over the way it was with Joe Biden. They should have been done equally. I agree with that. Let's keep watching.
Of course, with Trump, agents went to a magistrate. They got a search warrant. They conducted a raid.
They did all that after months of the National Archives and the Department of Justice and others trying to work directly with Donald Trump and his people to try to get back the documents. But the Trump people refused to cooperate. They kept turning over things and saying, oh, everything's been turned over. And the National Archives would look at them and say, wait, we're still missing a whole bunch of documents. Every step of the way, the Trump administration was resisting. Let's keep watching.
They seized them. And none of that's happened in the Biden. And the other thing about it,
that's because they didn't have to happen. The Biden administration just turned them over. Let's keep watching.
Neil, that really bothers me when I found out when they actually discovered these documents. It was actually in the Biden house. It was actually right before the midterms.
Is that right?
In November. And how that stays secret and out of the press is beyond me.
So when you say,
Well, remember the fact that it took months for it to come out that Donald Trump was holding on to classified documents. In fact, it took much longer for the information about Donald Trump having classified documents to come out than it took for the information about Joe Biden's documents to come out. Those came out actually relatively quickly compared to what happened with Donald Trump. So, hey, the information should have come out more quickly with Donald Trump. I agree with that. Let's keep watching.
it was in the Biden house. These were reportedly at the University of Pennsylvania so-called Biden Center.
Oh, so they weren't even at his house. They were at a facility, but yet once they were found by Joe Biden, they were turned over. At Mar-a-Lago, they were just basically sitting around. Let's keep watching.
And I know when, there was no mad rush in the middle of the night to seize them, but there
was no mad rush in the middle of the night to seize them because they didn't have to. They were just turned over. Let's keep watching.
That you're right. There's a clear difference in how they were treated. If you're appalled that classified documents are just out there and you think it's right to go ahead and storm someone's home, you might as well storm someone's office to keep it consistent, right?
You see, this is the sad thing about how conservatives are and how Fox News behaves, is that they take little grains of truth and end up changing them and end up creating this false narrative. And then they repeat it again and again and again and again till people believe it. Like the whole false border crisis story that I've debunked a number of times on my channel now. Well, if you want to find out more information about the specifics of the search of Mar-a-Lago and what led up to that to try to get back these classified documents from Donald Trump, check out this video I did over here a little while ago. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.